Welcome to this episode of Real Estate IQ, where we answer frequently asked questions people are either too scared or too confused to ask. One of the biggest mistakes people make when buying land is assuming that if the documents seem legit or if the seller seems trustworthy, then everything is going to be fine. But that is not the case. This is where due diligence comes in. Due diligence actually means taking time to verify each detail before you make any payment. I'm your host, Sharon Ibinabo, and in this episode of Real Estate IQ, we will be answering questions on how to verify your land documents, checking ownership, and how to avoid scams in real estate. Let's get right into it. The first question I have on my list today is, a land search is one of the most important or vital steps when it comes to due diligence in real estate. To conduct a land search, you have to take the property survey plan or title documents, and then you go to the land registry or the Ministry of Land to check the right owner of this property. So you take documents from the seller to the Ministry of Land or Land Registry, and then the officials there will check through their records and tell you who the original landowner is. If the land title or the title documents are actually genuine, then if the land has been sold to someone else, and if the land has government acquisition on it. So that's how you do the land search. So you take the title document or you take the survey plan of the property from the seller, and then you go over to Ministry of Land or Land Registry, and then the officials there go through their records and check and tells you the exact details of this property. So that is how you verify to avoid land scams, to avoid when the seller sells a property to two different persons, it's going to show them. So it's going to give you every information about that property. So that's how you conduct a land search. The next question I have on my list is, this is a common question actually, because many buyers think that they only need one professional, but you need a lawyer and a surveyor. You need a lawyer and a surveyor, and then the both of them actually handle the transactions differently. So the lawyer is your legal backing, while the surveyor focuses on the land itself. The surveyor will survey the property. That will give you the exact details you need, such as the land size, the location of this property. That is exactly the details that you need, while the lawyer is there to verify these documents, to verify the title documents, if it's a good title or a bad title. That's just the work of the surveyor and the lawyer. So yes, you need both the surveyor and the lawyer when you want to buy a land. And as for the cost, it's not actually a fixed amount, because different lawyers, different surveyors have their different prices. So it's not a fixed cost. I cannot say a particular amount. So you just all what you need to do is to get a good lawyer and a verified surveyor that will not stress you and just give you exactly what you want. Also, for the cost, it depends on the state, the property's value. That's how much you're going to charge, or how much the lawyer and the surveyor are going to charge you. A lot of persons have actually asked this question. So don't just believe someone who is showing you a land for sale, because there are a lot of persons who sell lands that it's not even their own. Yes, so now our question today is, how do I verify the seller? So start first off by asking for the title documents. The seller is supposed to have the original title document to that property. If the property that has a C of O, the seller is to have the C of O for that property, the genuine, the original C of O to that property. If it's a deed of assignment, if it's a deed of conveyance, the seller is to have those title documents for the property. Then you check if the name on those documents match the seller's name. Yes, that's another thing. So confirm if the name on the title documents match with the seller's name. If it doesn't match, it's a red flag. You should run. Run to avoid land scam. If someone is selling on behalf of another person, do well to ask why. Why is the person selling on behalf of someone else? Then you ask for power of attorney to know if truly this person is verified, if this person is actually supposed to sell this land for that person. Then finally, you should verify at the land registry. You remember I said you take the title documents down to the land registry, take the survey plan to the land registry or Ministry of Land for the officials there to check through their records for the original owner of that property. So that's where you would know if the seller has legal rights to sell off that property you want to buy. Please, this is very, very important to avoid land scams. So unfortunately, land scams are actually common. They are common, but they are also very, very avoidable. Very avoidable. So one common scam is selling one plot to multiple people. That is one of the most common land scams that happen in, should I say, Nigeria? Yes. So the seller would sell the same plot to multiple people and eat their money and run. Another most common land scam is fake documents, fake title documents, like the fake certificate of occupancy, fake deed, fake survey plans. Those are the most of the common forms of land scam. So some scammers also sell government acquired lands. Then after a period of time, you would find out that this land is actually for the government, and then the person that bought the land would lose his or her money over some years. So another way you can identify land scam is people being very urgent about, oh, you have to buy today, pay today, pay today, pay today, urgent, pay today. In our previous episode, we identified some of these land scams and like some of these red flags in real estate or buying land or properties. And once you notice that the seller is always saying urgent, pay today, or someone else will buy it, you have to slow down and verify if the land is actually very, very good. So the best way to avoid these land scams is not to rush. Don't rush into buying land or those lands that sound too cheap to be true. Don't rush into buying it. Always verify the documents. Always verify documents. Then inspect the land physically. Don't rely on just pictures or videos. Go to the property, let them show you, stand in the property, let them show you, oh, this is where the plot of land is, this is where it ends. Stand there, inspect it physically. It's easier that way. Then use professionals. Use reliable professionals like the lawyers, surveyors. Yes. And then always buy from a reliable source. If you're buying from a real estate company, always buy from a reliable real estate company like Thank God Properties Limited. If you want to buy from an individual, you all buy from a verified landowner. So when you carry out all these processes, you're going to avoid land scam. Then if the deal sounds too good to be true, please run. It is a red flag. It is a big red flag. Using family and friends, family or friends isn't automatically bad, but don't let familiarity replace verification. Even if you want to use your family or your friend, always verify. Always verify, because buying property, buying land is not in small money. You're going to spend a lot of money, and we would not want you to lose such huge amounts of money to uh, wrong investments. So many people have actually lost money because they trusted someone and then the person did not give them exactly what they wanted, or the person just kept on telling them stories upon stories upon stories. So let familiarity not replace proper verification. So ask questions, verify the documents, inspect the land, do a land search. Everything boils down to due diligence. It is very, very, very important in real estate. It is very, very important. So trust is good, but verification is better and easier. Yes. The next question I have on my list is, an encumbrance is anything that limits your full ownership of a property or a land. So it could be mortgage, it could be family disputes, it could be court cases, it could be unpaid loans, it could be legal issues, it could be government acquisitions, or like just any issues that pertain to that property. That is an encumbrance. So how do you avoid it, or how do you confirm if there are no encumbrances? This is why I always tell us to have a lawyer, have professionals. So your lawyer can actually carry out a land search on that property to verify all documents, to make sure that there are no encumbrances to the property that you want to buy. So you should always ask questions within the community, because people who are around there should have more information than you who is in a distance. So if you're buying a land in a particular location, ask questions from people that are around that property that you want to buy. Never assume that a land is free from problems just because nobody mentioned it. Always carry out your due diligence. A licensed surveyor is one of the most important professionals when buying land. A surveyor is more than just someone who shows you the size of the land. Their job goes beyond just measuring land. The surveyor confirms the land that you are buying is actually where the seller says it is. For example, if the seller says the land is at Obrikwere, the surveyor is there to confirm if this land is in Obrikwere or is at East West Road. So that is one of the jobs of the surveyor. So the surveyor also identifies the exact boundaries of that property. They make sure that the land does not overlap with another property. So they also verify if the land falls under any government acquisition, road setbacks, pipeline routes, or other restricted areas. So without a proper survey, you might end up paying for land that doesn't legally exist where you think it is. So a surveyor is very, very important when purchasing land. The answer to this question is yes. One visit is surely not enough. A land can look very beautiful on a sunny afternoon, but become completely flooded, during heavy rains. So recently in Port Harcourt, it has been raining heavily, and I mentioned to someone that this is actually the perfect time for you to go for that inspection, because the seller can tell you that this area doesn't flood. It's a completely dry land. It's this, it's that. But when you go there, when you buy that land and then you've built, and during the rainy season, the place will just be flooded. But if you go for an inspection during the rainy season and you see that, okay, despite all the heavy rainfall, the place is not flooded, that is a dry land. So you should do inspections during the day, during the night. Just at night, just drive around, see the location. If it's somewhere that is easily accessible, then during rainy season, you go there, check the location. If the road is still accessible even during the rainy season, then you should get that property. So when you visit at different intervals, you would notice how accessible the roads are, if the area is prone to flooding, among other very important details that you will be needing. The final question I have on my list today is, What questions should I ask neighbors or community members? You know, you should never ever underestimate the value of local information. You know, people living around the area have more knowledge, have more information about this property that you are about to buy than you. So you should ask questions like, who owns the land? You know, has anyone ever disputed over this land? Or does this area flood during rainy seasons? Are there security concerns here? Are there plans for major roads or government projects here? Has anybody previously tried to buy this land? Are there any community issues? Are there any community issues buyers should know about? So these are just a few questions that you should ask neighbors or community members in that location where you want to buy that property. You know, sometimes a 5-minute conversation can save you a whole lot of money, can save you from making a very expensive mistake. And that's a wrap on today's episode of Real Estate IQ. Remember, buying land is one of the most important or most expensive financial decisions you would make in your life. So before you buy that land, you should always verify the documents, do your due diligence, so that you would not make a very expensive mistake and then have regrets after purchasing a land or a property. If you found this episode of Real Estate IQ very, very helpful, then you should share this video to your friends, share them to your family, share them to people that you know have asked this kind of questions to you or on the internet before. So don't forget, I'm your host, Sharon Ibinabo. Like this video, drop your comments, drop your questions in the comment section. I'm going to answer them on the next episode. So don't forget, like, share this video, and do well to subscribe to this YouTube channel so that when next we drop the next episode of Real Estate IQ, you will be the first person to be notified about Real Estate IQ. Do have an amazing rest of your day.